here, man. What a beautiful art. Give yourself some round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone should love it. And while you're in the clapping mood, I'd like to give a big round of applause to my band.
Good evening. Welcome to 30 Something Podcast. It's Tuesday, July the 16th. I'm your host, Lisa, and we have in the studio with us today our lovely producer, Miss Kamiko. You won't see her on camera, but you might hear her voice. And then we have our newest host, Marie, all in her phone, but that's all right. Marie, say hey to everybody.
Hey.
And then our special guest who will be joining in on the conversation throughout the night is Mr. Joffrey of the Gentleman's Lounge podcast. Thank you for joining us. And then we have Drea. She's out today handling her business, but she will return next week. So thank you for joining us tonight on 30 Something Podcast. Guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page. So let's get into the show. Marie is going to let us know what's happening in our What Now segment. Marie, what now?
Hey, so today in What Now, we wanted to talk about the governor of Tennessee, Bill Lee, him assigning, or I guess proclaiming Nathan Bedford Forrest Day. So Nathan Bedford Forrest, he was actually the first Grand Wizard of the KKK. He was also a Confederate general. So everyone's kind of up in arms. He still did it. Now, based off of Tennessee law, they are required to do six proclamations per year. With those six proclamations, 3 of them are actually required that they be Confederate. Yes.
Why is that?
Because it's part of their history. I feel like I know people are upset, but to me, I actually love it, and I think it kind of segues into. This is like a blatant example of institutional racism. So in theory, this kind of supports reparations. So I'm all like, hey, keep making holidays for Confederate soldiers, racist people, KKK. Keep on because you're proving a point. You continuously prove our point every day. And for them to have legislation that verbatim says, hey, you have to do 6 proclamations per year, and you're required to do 3 of them have to be Confederate. Now, from what I have heard is that some governors, they are able to kind of just choose not to. We've seen it in the past. I want to say there was like a company, or it was like an organization, but they had made some negative commentary towards Trump, and so the governor didn't sign off. So I do feel like he could have chose not to. His excuse at this point is he's just following. He's doing, what he's required to do for it. He's doing his job. He did mention something to the effect of him wanting to change the laws. I do also know too that they're also going to declare like Robert Lee's Day as well, and I do know for a fact that they've actually already been celebrating that day for Nathan. It's been about 50 years now.
Wow.
But now it's just kind of like we're just going to say it to make it official.
But I thought they wanted us to just get over, slavery. They wanted us to get over Jim Crow and all of that stuff, but then they're still celebrating it and.
But in essence, I feel like they want you to accept it. Like, you just have to accept this. Going back to because as usual, things are being forced upon us. We're forced here. So now I need to force you to accept this. In addition to that, this particular, particular general, he actually was well known for the Fort Pillow massacre. I want to say the Union soldiers, they actually gave up. They kind of surrendered, and then he still killed like 100 of them. 100 white Union soldiers and then 200 black Union soldiers. They were obviously fighting for their freedom during that time period. So, I guess he institutional racism is an illusion, or it's all in your head, or this isn't really something. There's nothing systemic going on. But in all actuality, every day you give us another reason to say that is the case. And so even with this is like a prime example. Like it's like proof. And the fact that it's written into their legislation saying, hey, you have to do 6 proclamations a year. 3 of them need to be towards a Confederate. And, trying to hold on to that. I get not whitewashing history. I get not wanting to forget what may have happened. However, we're not going to honor them. If anything, we're going to discuss it in totality, and this is why this person should be dishonored. And even this particular gentleman, he's also in the Capitol building. So again, we're still putting these people, these white supremacists, these racists, we still put them on a pedestal to this day, which again reinforces the fact why we should have some form of reparations, or that we're due. This is constantly thrown in our face on a daily basis, and it's written into laws.
So all they've done is gone from an entertainer to a Confederate general. So remember, Tennessee is the same state that we're talking about was trying to push Elvis holiday.
Yeah. But I guess they need 6. They got to meet their quota.
So I'm like,
you really wanted Elvis Presley to have a holiday. Now you want.
Yeah.
Now you want a former general, but leader of the KKK, to be memorialized. Like, that's retarded. That.
Even in their statement, though, they came out and they did a press release, and even in the press release, they said that he's required to do this by
law. Which, going back to, he's like, now again, him playing his part. Well, I'm looking into changing those laws, but I feel like if you really felt something was wrong,
How hard is he looking though?
You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's shit. Everything sounds good. It's like
it sounds good.
It's like that fake sense of help or hope. Like it's all an illusion. So he did say that he's looking to change that legislation. Obviously, he hasn't changed it. He still signed off on the shit, and I'm sure probably too, if he didn't get any scrutiny, he wouldn't have said nothing about it.
First of all, he looks for re-election. He damn well gonna pass it, because them good old boys in Tennessee, that's exactly what they're gonna press. Yeah. Well,
we got Chris talking off camera to our guest Joffrey.
I got to fact check that.
So he's trying to make sure he checks the facts on those that information that he's giving to you guys.
Yeah, so, okay, yeah. The KKK
was founded in Pulaski, Tennessee.
Oh.
I didn't know Pulaski,
I didn't know that.
And then going back to, he was the first Grand Wizard in, 1864.
Right. So, I mean, you have many facets of it, but I didn't know they were started in Pulaski, Tennessee. Appreciate it.
Chris is coming with some major facts that are very relevant.
So it makes sense as to.
And going back to his Confederate, but going back to that's their Confederate history per se. But going back to, I don't believe in hiding anything or pretending like something didn't happen, but we're not going to honor it.
Well, look,
like we're not going to. And you get a day. Oh, you kill it. You get a day. You get a day too. Oh, you massacred 1 million people. You get a day.
So,
but then I guess in some ways people have earned dollar bills. They've killed lots of people, massacred, genocide. Like we could just go on slavery. Yeah.
But I'm a product of southern states. I'm from Mississippi originally, and I can tell you, as high school teenagers, we heard about the situation where the Ku Klux Klan was actually going to march at the state capitol. And we were in school, and they made this announcement like at the biggest black festival in Mississippi, which was like the Jazz Fest in Jackson. They made the announcement like, we're going to march next week. And you had well over 3,000 plus students from local areas say, I want to see it. And we skipped school. We went out to go voice our opinion about this, and it's like, they canceled it. They brought the military in and shut everything down relatively quick. But I'd like to see what young adults would say in the state of Tennessee now, just knowing that your chosen leadership is choosing to put you on the path to honor someone that hates more than 60% of the population of your state.
Apparently, they're not saying much because
they voted the fool in.
Right,
and
then we haven't heard about any protests or any riots or any anger or any
Nothing.
outbursts in regards to it. So I don't think you have to wait to hear what they have to say, because they've actually spoken with silent voices, in my opinion,
Their
on the
silence is
subject
consent.
matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Marie said, their silence is consent.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
That's a sad situation, because you really need to do a background check on who you're putting in office, because these people run rampant with their voices, their opinions, and then they're going to make you look like you're a part of a situation that you really never voted on or wanted to be a part of. But unfortunately for you, now I can sit back and say, you from that state that's honoring that, Klans do, just like we pointed at Louisiana when we said, oh, y'all was supporting David Duke. Like I said, coming from Mississippi, we got a whole lot of history that we're still trying to, climb out of. So we don't need current days and times to let new wave people, put us back another 50 to 100 years.
Well, I think I'm all for. I like them being voted in office. To be honest, yeah, I want to know how people feel about me. And I think that I'm thankful actually for the current political climate of our country, because now you know who the racists are. You know who actually feels the way that they actually feel about us, and I think that that's important, so that okay, you know what, I might not want to give my money to you as a business owner, or you know what, I'm not going to come and apply to your job, because you know what, I got to see who you really are, what your thoughts are, how you really feel about certain things, and especially when we get on these Facebook threads. Right. And people share their thoughts and opinions so heavily, then you kind of get a better gist and idea of, the people in America and this society and how they really feel. And I say America, but I spell it, with a KKKA, because, I mean, that's just honestly what we're dealing with. So, okay, applaud and give reverence to the KKK in Tennessee. So I know not to take my caramel, whatever color y'all want to call me, behind down to Tennessee to experience that racism that you guys are blatantly dishing out. But enough of them people, those white people. Also, in what now?
There's still black people.
Well, you'll go get some real.
I'll be at Memphis. I'll be at Memphis in May, but
my friend is from Memphis.
Nashville, man, Nashville is a good time, but
I mean, you can still go, but just fly into the city you want to go to. Don't drive through, because that's where your problems might pop off.
I stay around Memphis.
All right, so we're gonna leave Tennessee and we're gonna head on down to Chicago with y'all's favorite crooner, Robert Sylvester. That middle name is such a mess. Kelly. So last week we shared with you guys on our Facebook page that R. Kelly had been arrested and indicted on some charges with regards to child pornography, which is it's not new. I mean, wow, it took 20 years.
They got their cases made.
Right, and these are charges from New York. I want to make
on Black Identity Extremism.
Right, I want to make mention of that. So he has been charged, and today he had to appear in court for those particular charges, where he pleaded not guilty to sexual misconduct charges. How, why, and what would behoove him to plead not guilty when he is clearly guilty makes no sense to me. However, he did plead not guilty. However, it is being alleged that R. Kelly was found in, I believe, 15 tapes. And I can't call them sex tapes because these are tapes with underage minors. So he was found in tapes with actual minors. And they're saying that these young ladies were between 7th and 8th grade. In addition, one of the tapes that was viewed, they're saying that the young lady in the video, at least a count of 15 times, stated her age. So today, they went before the judge. Assistant U.S. Attorney Angel Kroll told Judge Harry Leinweber fact check how to pronounce that. They didn't want him to receive bail, and he did not receive bail at this time because of his unique ability. And this is according to a Chicago Times report. His unique ability to influence and intimidate witnesses and victims. That continues to this day, and that's supported by all these payouts that he's had throughout the years, right? So he was indicted in New York for sexual misconduct and production of child pornography. He faces a combined 18 counts for alleged crimes against 10 victims. So what do you? I mean, is this like
Y'all gonna keep supporting this nigga? That's the real question.
right? So are y'all still stepping in the name of love?
Let me say this.
I stopped listening to R. Kelly a long time ago.
I'm not gonna denounce the man's music simply because historically we've had multiple artists who've dabbled on the dark side. That shit was slid up on the rug. Let the man music stand where it stands. Address the real issue. R. Kelly is a straight up mental case, and he's been that way since he was younger. Address that first. I'm not standing up for the man for what he did because I have a daughter.
Okay.
But I'm a grown ass man. I'm not gonna sign up to leave my daughter alone with R. Kelly.
So you like to groove to his music?
I mean, music is music. Nothing about me saying I listen to his music says I support you being a child rapist. Like, no,
okay.
I'm not saying that at all.
Let me insert my opinion right here because I got to interrupt you because I'm a writer, and a lot of times as a writer, you draw your inspiration from situations and things that you deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So, when R. Kelly wrote "Age Ain't Nothing But a Number" for Aaliyah, that was from an actual situation when he was in a relationship with her. And so I don't see how, and let me tell you, look, Space Jam was my movie, and I loved I Believe I Can Fly. And there's some other inspirational songs that I enjoyed of his until I realized who he was, what he was, and what he represented. And I just couldn't get down to that music and listen to that music anymore because it's like, okay, so when you talking about these certain things, are you saying that this little girl reminds you of your G? Like, I started thinking about that, and I mean, I respect your opinion and your thought process, but I just don't understand how you're able to separate the music from the man. Now, I understand we want to identify the particular possible mental health issues he has, the fact that he is illiterate. However, you can't. It's almost, in my opinion, that you can't just excuse away his crimes, his acts against children, when there are other people who have experienced similar things as him who didn't go start molesting and grooming young girls to be their sex slaves as he has allegedly done. So in my opinion, I don't feel like I can't separate the music from the heinous crimes, and then I cannot excuse his experiences as a child of being molested. You know why? Because this man amassed, in his time as a music producer, he amassed over $150 million, which means he had the means and the access to mental health care, to get help for those demons, for those things that we're calling issues. And what he did is he said, you know what, I'm going to use my money and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to pay off people to continue doing what I'm doing. Now, as for me, what I want to excuse is all the people who work for him who were well aware, and now that the well is running dry, now y'all want to say, well, I know, and he was this and he was that. You are just as guilty, and I do hope that all of you all get indicted right along with the charges come about for people who are involved with such things as child pornography, child molestation, and anything that involves heinous acts towards children. So that's kind of like my little soapbox. I'm going to let you guys continue what you were sharing on your thoughts about the whole R. Kelly situation.
Okay, so let me finish. I respect that as a writer because you're right. Your inspiration, your music comes from a deeper meaning. But when I hear age ain't nothing but a number, I'm a man. So I'm not thinking about a 12-year-old girl. I'm thinking at 18, that 32-year-old woman over there. When I hear this song, when I was exposed to this song,
nostalgic too, because that your age when it came out, etc.
right?
Okay.
So my exposure to the song had a totally different meaning. I'm not thinking about little girls. Point blank, period. It's the same thing when you listen to BBD and they say adolescent, out of style. Hey, what do you say? Wild style, like do the wild thing. It's like all of these groups have All of these groups have hinted at talking about being around adolescents. I mean, from your favorite rappers like LL Cool J. I need a runaway girl. Little cute girl with bamboo earrings in her hair.
Did Tupac mention anything like that?
Young now.
Please don't disappoint
I feel like
me.
in Around the World Girl, but I don't see him mentioning that.
But it's like, think about what was portrayed in these videos.
But did Tupac say something like that? Because
Tupac was too political.
My whole life gonna be broken.
Right, you're gonna be sick, right?
I'm
but
devastated.
Tupac did tell you,
though, in his own way.
Right, Tupac did tell you, I get around.
Well, he can get around.
I feel like he's overrated, so let me.
Hey, Marie, now. You new to the show?
Ain't that too?
But I'm just messing with you. Okay.
But I'm just saying, it's like you can pick multiple messages out of music, but it's on you as a person to dissect what you want to mean out of that. So again, I'm not excusing R. Kelly at all. What I want to see, and I know we're not talking about it, but if you charging up R. Kelly like this, here's the difference. R. Kelly about to go upstate and he about to serve some real time. Epstein was hijacking motherfuckers in this country, beating on these little young girls, same ages, raping them, multiple means to money and access to get in and out of the country. His lawyer came back and said, we have means to file for him to be on house arrest. And they went to his house and did an investigation and searched it, and they found an expired passport plus money and fake IDs. So he's eligible for house arrest. But R. Kelly got...
But is he eligible? Yeah, that's important.
So right now, they still haven't said anything per se. But R. Kelly shit was quick.
Wait, but I will say that
R. Kelly stuff been going on for years, just like
Epstein. R. Kelly got off the first time. Epstein has had multiple cases brought up against him, and he said he did the same thing R. Kelly did. Pay.
But they both have had multiple cases
like,
against
between
him.
New York, Seattle, etc. And even though I would love to say that's white privilege, I also feel like R. Kelly's at the top of his totem pole. The difference between Epstein and he's not as connected. Elitism. I think this one is more of a wealth thing because the people he can name, they're powerful people. They probably have more power than he has. So they're going to be a little like he can name some names. He's connected to high power.
So you're talking
that will
about
be taken
wealth,
down.
You're talking about wealth versus entertainment. Because please believe R. Kelly could bring a whole lot of people down with him.
I don't think he had, but going back to, I feel like even the people that may have been involved in his stuff, I feel like the people that knew him kind of moved away from him. So even when you look at Jay-Z, you look at some of the people he was associated with, and even Jay-Z, we know stories of him being with younger women. But going back to moving away from that, R. Kelly's time over, and we're talking from age 12, 13, we're talking about grooming. Even the young lady that Sparkle, her niece, I'm associated, I knew her boyfriend at the time, like the girl that, refused to go out against him. I knew who she was dating when that video surfaced. It was a class, and I can tell you her vehicle, this, that, and everything. And I can tell you to the point, too, also how we were conditioned growing up, especially growing up in dysfunction. It was like she just fast. We never looked to say, well, this is a 14-year-old girl. Why the hell is a 30-something-year-old man even remotely interested or doing anything with a girl that age? Well, she probably wanted to do it. Or, excuse me, why would a man that age be even attracted to or interested? Why would you even play with that situation? Period.
But again, this goes back to showing what historically has happened in entertainment. So you had Elvis marry his wife in the state that allowed it, because in the state they were married, she could be 14, 15 and get married. So he did it. Johnny Cash did it.
And I think that
John-
goes back to we run a country. Our country's ran by pedophiles, like rich pedophiles. I want to say like one of the
Right.
Russian, like the
Right,
Russian,
like the mob.
yeah, he's like our country's ran by rich pedophiles, and so more or less these young women, they're pretty much they're at their disposal too. They're groomed from that to be this person's mate or partner, whatever. And even too, these parents failed these kids. How would you even let your kid be in that position? And then going back to people are so desperate and dire that they are selling their kids off to whomever. Oh, so you basically, these parents are also being bribed as well, or they're here, we'll do this,
But
this,
like you
and this.
said, as soon as the money stops, then it's an issue.
So like I said, I want everybody who has been involved
But exploitation
to be held
exploitation,
accountable.
yeah,
But
that's
then again, here's my thing, and I respect you as I guess and sharing your opinion. But what I don't want to do when these type of situations come up is, well, the white man did blah blah blah. I don't care who did what. I, for one, feel like anyone who is involved in any type of act that is heinous against a child should be held accountable, whether you're black, yellow, purple, green, and even if you are pizza. And y'all know I love my pizza. So I don't want to make it. I don't like when African Americans, and it's typically, and I hate to say this, my brother, but it is typically the men on my social media thread who will come and they will go hard and cape for the man who, and you acknowledge that you feel he's wrong. So I'm not going to disregard that. But what they end up doing is they go so hard to point out the white man who's done similar crimes as wrong that they don't want the black man to be held accountable. And in this instance, I feel like I'm not concerned about white privilege when it comes to acts against children. I don't care who gets privilege. I want everybody held accountable to the same extent of the law. However, if a white person isn't held accountable to the same extent of the law, I'm not going to go and say, well, you shouldn't hold the black man accountable to the same extent of the law when it comes to this particular type of crime, because I think it's wrong in all accounts. And then
address Stan's comment.
Yeah, I was going to do that. That's what I was getting to. Stan, thank you for commenting. He says he does remember a lot of girls in high school underage bragging on their older boyfriend. He's glad times are changing and it's getting exposed. He also stated that he wants them all charged and sentenced to jailhouse, not the little kid's house arrest. Yeah, girls dating older men. Is that what you're going to address?
I think that even if you're saying that a child, a teenager, is bragging about one, oftentimes too, if somebody's dating somebody that much younger than, so you're a grown ass man, you're dating a young girl. So one, you've either caught somebody that she's vulnerable. She like a lot of kids like that come from dysfunctional homes. Ain't no parent that's on their shit. Just like, oh yeah, your grown ass can take my daughter out. There's no way in hell that my 15, 16, 17-year-old is gonna walk in the house with someone 25, and I'm just like, it's okay. Like we're not even raised that. Like, but I feel like I do know that scenario. I've seen it happen. Hell, I was one of those young girls that dated older guys, but I wasn't bragging about it. But I also too, some of it was okay. If I'm working a full-time job, I take care of myself because I'm coming from a dysfunctional environment. I probably have a little bit more in common with him, but even at the end of the day, you look at him like, what's up with your maturity level that I'm on your level to you? Like, there's never time you don't, because even now at 30, I'm 35. A man 25 don't have shit to say to me. Like, there's nothing we can talk. We have nothing in common. You can't, barely in their 30s. So to me, I look at the dysfunction. Like, when you do see that, you see that they're bragging. One, that's kind of a problem. Sounds like they're looking for a father figure. They're looking to be cared about. They're looking for love in the wrong places. So to say, well, they were bragging about and that's still a teenager. I'm never going to hold a child, like, until, it's like, until you reach a certain age, like, life happens, but I feel like I'm not really going to hold you accountable. Like, when you're 21, 22, 25, yes. But at 17, I'm not going to take whatever you did and that's just who you are. I'm going to hold you accountable to being this person, and you did this and this. No, you're still growing, you're learning. And even, too, those girls half the time don't even realize they're being taken advantage of. They're like, oh, I'm different. Everybody loves to think
he bought me stuff.
He bought me stuff.
And then they come from a home where ain't nothing getting bought for them.
Food, clothes. Their parents on some functioning addicts, drug addicts, alcohol abuse. You never really know. Ain't nobody, again, like I said, nobody coming from an environment where they're taking care of love, their family's pouring into them. It's just going to be cool with my daughter coming in the house with a 26-year-old and she's like 16, 17. That's not, like, he's going to get shot.
Society has changed, though. you just have to take into account that different age, different time, things were considered popular, things were considered acceptable. So at one point in time, even in high school, yeah, I knew the girls that was hanging out with the older
Don't
dudes.
point in my direction. No,
I knew the
I'm
girls
just
that was hanging. So I knew the girls that was hanging out with the older dudes. You know, like they were excited to be riding in the car that was coming up to pick them up from the high school. You know, to go hang out with this older dude. I knew guys that were in college coming back taking girls to high school proms. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things where it was like you saw it, but you kind of looked at it like, and you let the shit pass. I'm sorry.
Oh, we cuss on here.
My bad.
She don't cuss sometimes.
My bad.
God's working.
So you know, it's like you gave these people a pass for what was going on, and it's like, so in today's society, we're more aware of things because of social media, social injustices, and what people do
being
fight
knowledgeable
for.
too,
Right.
in general,
Because quite honestly, you might not know about this stuff in your area.
In the early 1900s, though, we do have to say that, you know, older people, they did get married quite young back in the day, in their teens. However, that was just a sign of the actual times at that time. I still think
that was survival.
You 14, whatever your parents look. If you look at the time they're struggling for money, whatever. Of course, they can't wait to marry you off to somebody.
You got married off to get cattle.
Pretty much, and even when you look at some of that, so we can take that same structure and say 1950s. We can say that 1960s. And to some degree, so now we're moving into an age too where it's like my child, I didn't raise my children so they could take care of my land, my farm, or do work for me. You know what I'm saying? It's a different thing. I want you to have opportunities. I don't want anyone to take advantage of you. I don't want anyone to take advantage of your youth, of your innocence. I don't want to have anyone take that from you. And I guess looking back, I look at it differently. And even too, to kind of walk out of dysfunction. So if you're operating dysfunction, then you kind of actually see what something functioning looks like. You're going to look at it differently. Because even too, I come from that culture where it's the girl. I remember being followed home by grown ass men, and I got fussed at because I kind of have a switch when I walk. Like, well, they would have never followed. So I don't think how I walk it's my fault. And if somebody in their 20s is following me home in their car, I've said absolutely nothing. That is not my fault. But growing up where I grew up, you shouldn't walk like that, or you're being fast, or we always put it on the girls and not giving the accountability to those grown ass men. And I feel like now it's like we're like, actually no, you're gonna take this L this time, buddy. We're not gonna do the boys will be boys. Men will be accountable.
Exactly, I agree. We gotta travel on down to New York. We're gonna leave R. Kelly in Chicago, where he will actually be in jail until he is in court in September. So, maybe he can establish a choir out there in the jailhouse. You have a jailhouse choir.
Cosby in there giving out advice.
Okay.
So have a little music group in there, so I'm making be him.
Hey, do what you gotta do, except for mess with kids. So, Kamiko, if you could just show the pictures of Eric Garner, guys, and we're gonna get into our Eric Garner story. Okay, so today is the eve of the 5-year anniversary of the murder of Eric Garner. He died in 2014 after he was forcibly arrested by Officer Daniel Pantaleo. He was allegedly selling loose cigarettes, which is a misdemeanor offense, and I don't understand how a misdemeanor offense gets you killed. However, with that eve of his death, the Department of Justice declined to charge the NYPD, I don't know where the B came from, my bad, in the officer's death of Eric Garner, because it was the time frame had expired. And so it took them 5 years to tell us what they could have told us 5 years ago is that we are not going to charge these officers because America, like America is, does not hold officers accountable.
Unless you black.
Unless it is a black officer. Like we saw, was that
officer,
Indiana?
Or Hispanic.
What was that,
Yeah.
Indiana?
You gonna be the example.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Like you're an example.
I'm gonna have to say they have to be black because even the officer, was a Chinese officer or something.
That's a little different.
The one who killed
The stereotype.
the guy, Philando Castile. He wasn't held accountable. So and then we shared a lot of different pictures of you, but I mean, still to this day, we have a white man who can put his hands on his gun, and the officer's like, "Hey, buddy, just hold on there, buddy. Don't get outrageous now, buddy.
So,
Calm down, buddy. Let's talk through it, buddy." But you see, first of all, what I feel, and this is, and I want to be sensitive, and I know somehow when I talk, these like inappropriate sounding jokes come out, but it almost looks like, go back to that picture of Eric Garner. When you look at the picture, you see this guy with a little man's complex. He sees a tall African American man in stature, and he's like,
immediately scared.
yeah, he's frightened.
For my life where I got down
He didn't fear for his life. He just felt like, look, I'm going to
Show
assert.
He was intimidated.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you.
Myself,
Yeah, so it's like he
my own right way.
asserted himself. You got the guy choking him from behind. And a lot of it looks like a lot of little man complex to me. It's 3 officers, and I mean, it was cigarettes, dude.
And so I say,
I don't get it.
Even listen to that story. I know I told you the other week, one of my girlfriends, one of my white girlfriends reached out to me. She has a 13-year-old son, autistic. He is probably about 5'8", heavy set. He got into an altercation with his brother. He decided to leave the house barefoot. He took a knife into a bank. He waved his knife around in the bank and everything. Again, white boy. She gets a phone call that her son is safe and sound on the curb and she can come pick him up whenever.
So they didn't even take him in, or?
And no, they didn't even take it. And for her, that was the first time she really, like, she came from a poor working class white family. So to her, she never really could recognize white privilege. And it wasn't until that day she realized, like, my son would have been dead if he was black. There's no way that even he waved.
How old is she?
She is 38.
So in her 38 years of living, she didn't realize that she, even in her poor, excuse me, I would call her white trash, but in her poor state as a white woman, she didn't realize that even being poor, as long as she was white, she still received some privilege.
I think I feel like a lot of white people, they take that, they almost feel as if saying, acknowledging their white privilege is like, it's something wrong. So I will say this, and I've had this conversation where like they feel guilty. So of course they try to avoid it because they're not that white person. They're the nice person, the blah blah blah. So no, I feel like a lot of them love to avoid that.
And you're their black friend, right?
Yeah, but I feel like they always try to move around that conversation, not realizing all it really is about just ownership. Because guess what? I can't take your privilege away from you. Right. And really, there's all kinds of privileges. So I'm not going to ask you to denounce your privilege, give up your shit. But what I am going to ask you to do is to use your platform, people whose ears you have. Because you have people's ears, they're not going to listen to you, but you got your white friends and whomever to advocate for people that don't have the same privileges that you have.
And acknowledge that you do get those privileges. Because I don't like when they, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, but and going back, and that's a privilege too, to be able to not acknowledge your white privilege.
Right, and to act like it doesn't exist, and then for her to be, able to say, hey, Marie, you know what? By golly, when my son was in that bank with his knife swinging it to and fro, oh my gosh, like I really totally realized, white privilege does exist. It wasn't when Tamir Rice was shot. It wasn't when Eric Garner was killed.
But going back
to when my son was at the bank.
The thing about the thing about people, I'll say this, of course, there's a certain bias, right? Mm-hmm. So when I'm working, like when I'm teaching, the fact that my class is predominantly, like my last class was all black. My new class, there's no one white there. So there's a certain level of, there's a certain bias I have, or even maybe it's a prejudice, but I treat them a certain way because they're not white students. And I'll be honest, I can see myself in a black student. I can see my child and someone, like, you know what I mean? So I can see my father, I can see my brother. And I feel like the white people, they kind of have that same thing to some degree. So I'm not going to take that. Like, I get it because I know I have my bias.
But at the same time, I'm happy that when you finally do recognize that shit, I'm not gonna kick your ass for it. I'm like, and the thing is, like, she was overtly excited to tell me. I was kind of like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that you finally seen that. And I'm glad that that was the outcome, because I'm not gonna wish ill on anybody. But I will definitely say that it kind of, in America, it's like, when is black, like, when is it not going to be a crime? When is it not going to be a problem? And falling back to even in that, that's why reparations is necessary.
So let me give a little historical factor to it. As a black man, we were branded because of our girth. We were branded because of our size. We were branded because of what we brought to the table. It was the unknown. So we were brought to a country that didn't understand us, that didn't know us, that didn't care about us. We were brought here to be stricken down to bare necessities and do work for people that never respected us, right? But we came from a kingdom of kings, queens, royalty, educated, livelihood. What killed that dream was the fact for people that never respected. Because in our own element, came from a kingdom. In that time, you had wars, we fought, but coming to a new country, we didn't know any better, right? So it's the same thing that we're seeing in current day times. We fight back, and we're looked at as a threat. Only because I'm voicing the fact that I know I'm right.
Whether you're saying, I want to go to a school that has books. I would like for the school to have heat. They're like, how dare you get upset?
Right. How do you get upset about this?
And even, too, that's what I feel like. I honestly feel like even integration, it really wasn't an act of, oh, let's all be together. Was that, you know what, we said we have to give you equal shit.
So we
damn
just
sure not going to build you your own.
Right.
So you can come use our shit. But,
right.
That's really what it boiled down to. Now, there's some benefits, like, yes, I would love to be able to travel state to state lawfully without being harassed, which I still may be harassed. But I would like to know, I might, there's probably like me being killed or whatever, it actually went down just a little bit, because even too, when there was segregation, you couldn't travel. You couldn't get on trains. You couldn't do, so there's certain benefits that came with it, but I feel like too, there's a lot of things we lost with it.
It is, right. But I have friends and family in law enforcement, and I respect the law to the fullest. I've been a witness to some stupid shit from police officers. We'll talk about that another time. I've seen good and I've seen bad.
And the thing is, too, it's like, as much as I'm like, oh, damn the police, I do understand, too, that there has to be order. There has to be some type of system. There has to be some type of law. I've even researched, even before the LAPD was established, people don't know that they had their own, like, vigilante justice kind of thing.
Right.
And really what actually made the LAPD come about was that the vigilantes just went crazy. Yep. So then it's like, who gets to decide who's like wrong or deserves to die? And so it's almost like people will be reckless as well. So there has to be some type of law, has to be some type of order. There has to be somebody to sustain that, reinforce it, etc. However, I do think that obviously there needs to be, like, some things have to change within the system that we have. There have to be certain, people have to be retrained. You can't have people policing communities of people they're afraid of. If you've never been exposed to black people, this ain't the day for you to be exposed to black. Like,
you ain't supposed to be in South Oak Cliff.
Yeah, but you can't retrain someone's thought process, though.
You can't.
But going back to that's why you don't belong in that community.
Right.
No, you not only do you not belong in that community, but you also don't belong being a police officer or a public servant. Because even if you're not, even if you're not policing that community, there's going to be an instance when you come in contact with African American people. So you know what, maybe that's not, the particular job for you. And since it is pretty easy for white people to get jobs, go get you a job somewhere else and use that nepotism that you easily use all the time to get that type of job.
I think that's where the white rage comes from, though, to be honest.
Floyd
said, to be white and not successful, and it kind of bothers you. Like, well, first of all, they promised me at the bare minimum, and that bothers them. I feel like, because they feel like the bare minimum you told me I was white, I was guaranteed to this such and such life.
Right.
You mean my life is still trash?
And then these people come and we done oppress them, and they talented. They making money. Wait a minute, we kept our foot on their neck, and they still make something out of themselves. We did the Maya Angelou for several years on them, and still.
So let's do everything we can to destroy them mentally.
Right. So let me read one of our comments on this, and then we're gonna move on to our next topic Floyd says, hey, Floyd, this is my buddy from high school, y'all. He said, people thought videos would solve these issues, but at this point, it's no help at all. Video evidence shows the wrongdoing, but they still are getting around it. Point blank, it's people that don't value colored lives. Colored, Floyd, come on. Y'all say black. We were calling us colored in 2019. Well, colored, hey, I guess that's what he mean. I'll just give him a hard time. But he said that they just happen to be in those positions. Those are his thoughts. And, I mean, well, of course, yeah, they don't value us. And, I mean, it is what it is. However, at this point, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We are going to introduce you guys to the event that we will be attending this weekend. I'll be in the building with my Golden Girl knees and my stilettos for Trap Murder Mystery, trying to serve the mystery. Shout out to Harriet and her crew. This is a Black-owned, financed, and operated murder mystery. So, guys, if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, tune into this little commercial we're going to show you and get ready to purchase your tickets so y'all can see what I wear to the Trap Murder Mystery.
That is funny.
The Trap Murder Mystery Dinner is here. It's a play, and you're part of the cast. Put your street-smart detective skills to work as we take you through twists and turns of a hood tale riddled with money, drugs, passion, and murder. The cast will keep you on your toes while you and your crew try to solve the crime. Dinner is included in the price of each ticket, and VIP tickets are also available. Come enjoy our all-star cast, a comedian host, trap music, and great food at the Trap Murder Mystery Dinner. Get your tickets now at trapmurdermystery.com.
As I was stating before we took our little brief commercial break, make sure you tune in this weekend, or not tune in, but go ahead and buy your tickets so you can support Trap Murder Mystery, because this is a what? It's on Eventbrite.
We'll go ahead and share a link on the page.
Yeah, we'll share a link on the page. Now, Kamiko, please, before we get into what we have our guest, Mr. Joffrey from the Gentleman's Lounge in the building for, which is co-parenting, which is not my ministry. Before we get into that, we are going to show, today, I just made this whole segment up briefly because I was just scrolling through my timeline early in the morning because I got text at 5 o'clock in the morning. By the way, if you are so blessed to have my phone number, it's not because I think I'm the stuff that I say this, but if you have my phone number, please do not text me that early. I was born at 5:44 a.m., but I came out still sleeping. I told everybody in the hospital, cut them lights off. It's too early. So I don't like to be woken up out of my sleep, guys, and that's probably why if y'all notice, I got this lazy eye right here to the right because I'm sleepy. At any rate, I was scrolling through my timeline, and I saw this gentleman. He is a Colombian, and he was in Madrid, Spain, at the Barcelona airport, had half a kilo of cocaine hidden under his wig, y'all. And so when I looked, I was like, my inner Fred Sanford just rose up in me, and I was like, you big dummy. And so, can y'all see the pictures? This man, if you look at the wig, it's like, dude, TSA was all over him like white on rice. There is no way possible that they looked at this dude and didn't become immediately suspicious. The way that wig is sitting on his head is like some of y'all lace fronts in the summertime.
Ooh. Ooh, don't kill him.
Horrible. But at any rate,
don't kill him.
No, it is though. It reminds me of, when the weeds get old, or when you go to, the $75 girl over the $275 girl. You get what you pay for.
Those look like one of them girls that say they don't date black men. Like, on God, they always have the worst wig.
So, y'all, he had the half a kilo under his wig, and I don't know how or why he thought that he was just gonna walk through this airport. Because when he came through, they said he appeared to be nervous, and then they looked at his wig, and it looked kind of off, off kilter on his head. And I mean, for me, this is like, you big dummy. Like, I don't get it. Like, dude, you was like, look, hey, I know that Hector is expecting me to come with these kilos, and I don't know how I'm going to hide the kilos. But you know what? Senorita Espinosa, my wife, has a wig. He could have, okay, I mean.
Who okayed that shit?
First of all, Hector is pissed off that he did not come through with that half a kilo.
First time drug dealer or something like this. Like his first time out, he didn't know.
His first time out.
Like his first time out the block, he didn't know. Like he's never done this. We never sold.
I just wanted the TSA dogs got to.
Look at he attracted the attention of the officers. They didn't even meet the dog.
When you go through TSA, you know they do have dogs that check.
No, look. Do you see the way that wig is sitting on his head?
That motherfucker look like
dogs don't have to identify that. That's some foolishness.
I can't tell.
I mean, once you look at him, you like, man, what the is up under that wig?
So what you're saying is he should have put some dreads on.
No, because he's Spanish, so he don't need to put no dreads. He just needed to find a better hiding spot or a better wig. He should have contacted y'all's president and asked him about that comb over.
Look like we're gonna help him fix his trafficking. We're not drug trafficking properly. We're gonna help you today.
And I don't know nothing about the drugs, okay? Because I don't smoke drugs, I don't do no drugs, none of that stuff.
I don't think that you're using
because,
well,
I don't know about transporting. I don't know anything about drugs because in the words of my girl Nippy, crack is whack. So I can't tell y'all nothing about how to transport them, how to smoke them, how to smuggle them. I'm just saying that.
I might have a few. I can help you out with a couple scenarios.
Hey, girl, I don't need the people on us like that. I just got my tickets cleared. Now, don't make mention of you might be able to help. Now, you had a fit 30-something pockets. No, I don't need nobody knocking on the door. Right. No. So, as I was saying, y'all, I looked at him like, you big dummy. At any rate, y'all, tomorrow when y'all go into work, I just want you guys to use your head for more than a hat rack. And in this case, this dude needed to use his.
He says all his critical thinking for when he gets to the airport.
He need to use his head for more than a drug storage, so that he wouldn't have to go to jail. So that's my you big dummy. And moving right along, we have our special guest in the building. I'm going to allow Marie to introduce him because she invited him, and she can give you a better introduction than I can.
Well, let's start out by saying. Jaffe was nice enough to actually allow us to come to his podcast, and we were homeless. Like we had nowhere to be if we wanted to be relevant, and he said, "Sure, you can come, even though you don't really have a show anymore."
Right.
So thank you. Also,
we
were
speaking Spanish in honor of my big dummy.
But also, I want to say it's like the other week we were having a conversation. We were out. And I felt like you had so many positive things to say in regards to co-parenting. Not saying that you were always perfect or that it was always great, but I felt like we don't hear enough positive co-parenting stories, especially from men sometimes. You know, sometimes we hear the complaints, but we never hear like the good stories.
The good stories, right.
And so I felt like if I was going to, like, anyone's going to come on for the co-parenting segment, I felt like it should be you.
Thank you.
So you the man of the hour.
I was like, he could be a role model.
I try.
Some co-parenting mentor classes.
Yeah, it's just responsibility.
So one of the things that pushed us towards this topic, our good co-host Marie, she just, she recently celebrated a birthday. Her children's dad, and I think there's a difference between, your children's father and a baby daddy and, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So her ex-husband, which is, also her children's father, he did a kind gesture for her, and I wasn't nosy enough to ask her what it was. Typically I am. However, he did, and she posted on social media, and then these idiots that are her Facebook friends decided that y'all should get back together, or you got issues that you need help for, and they just said a lot of.
It was like
they called her bitter.
The worst part is like my daughter saying it, then she told her dad, and all he did was just go there and read it all. Like
right, it was
like,
ridiculous. The response of her acknowledging, her children's father, and got after we kind of had our discussion on dating and being single, and we kind of talked about being single and dating with children and things of that sort, that kind of meshed into co-parenting. So like I said, co-parenting is not my ministry. I am a real single mother, despite what anyone else may say, think, or feel. I have the receipts. Keep that in mind. So with that in mind, with that in mind, but thank you for the payments. And that's all I got to say about that. Because I don't want to be petty. Go ahead, Marie.
From that, so what I want to say is everyone always is kind of surprised, or they think that like my co-parenting relationship is weird, or they try to insinuate it's something more than what it is. Because I do have, I kind of like, I respect my ex-husband. I put him kind of on a pedestal. He takes care of his kids, and I will say some of it comes from like my own upbringing. Like for me, I grew up kind of in a blended family. My father raised me, but he had a girlfriend. He's been with her 30 years. And she was always kind to my mother. She was kind, like she had a daughter. She was kind to her daughter's stepmother. We would have get-togethers, and everyone was together. Like even, I want to say I flew out to Chicago for my birthday, and my mother's ex-husband's daughter lives there too. And so she came to the party, but it's like she was there, her ex-husband there, his wife, like, everyone, like, it's like we realize that they're a piece of everyone, right? So, like, my kid's father, my daughters are a piece of him. They're a part of him, vice versa. So I'm not going to disrespect him. Now, of course, he handles his shit, so that does make a difference.
That makes it easier.
It definitely does make it easier, but it's like understanding the value in like co-parent. There was a time I remember, like my ex-husband is active duty military, so he is gone a lot. However, there's a couple things when he's here. He picks his kids up every morning at 7 a.m., takes them to school, no matter whether he's at his mom's house or wherever he's at, he's there at 7. He then picks them up. He takes, like, it's like he's like, even my father, like, he wasn't very, like, he took care of stuff, but it wasn't as far as being involved. No, they go play bingo, they're at cars, they're bowling, they're this, he's teaching them to drive. Like, whenever he's here, he's active as can be. And if he can't be here, he's here financially. So for me, it's like I appreciate that so much, especially when you hear other people, they tell their stories, or you hear stuff that's going on, you're like, damn, and I can literally pick up the phone. I can even pick up the phone and say something with me. Like, blah, 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 I need this. Well, he also knows that, hey, like, I know that you're going to make sure our kids are good, so I'm going to make sure you're good. And that's a big difference when you hear people, I'm not, blah, 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 but going back to, and I think that was what struck me. You made a comment, and you're like, my kid's mother is struggling,
then my
kid is struggling.
Right.
Because you bought her, what you bought your baby mama a gift? I heard it in our group chat. We was talking about your
I had to explain, like,
okay, so
why
yeah.
we was gonna have you on the show.
And she was just talking about this purse that she wanted. She saw it and she was like, I really want this purse, but I really don't have the money for it. And, hindsight being what it is, I'm like, you physically take care of our kids more than I do, because you have physical custody. We have joint custody, but they are with you. Daughter's grown, son is still growing. He's in high school. And, we expunge our time the best way we can.
Do they live in the state?
Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was just talking about this person, and I was like, you know what? You deserve that. You deserve that. I know you don't have anybody there to buy it for you, or you don't have the means to get it for yourself, but here you go. It's an early birthday gift, whatever you want to call it. It really didn't matter. I'm like, I'm not going to afford my ex-wife the opportunity to struggle with anything, because, again, if she does, that means my kids struggle.
Right.
And if she wants a gift, it's like, it's a gift. Like, it's not a car. It's just a token of appreciation. So it's like, I do appreciate the things that she's brought to the table for our kids, because she's been outstanding with it. Initially, we didn't have that. It was still a lot of my parents and my girlfriend say this and blah, blah, blah. And, you know me, I'm easygoing. I've always been the one to just sit back and say, okay. I just kind of let things roll off my shoulders. Like, it is what it is at this point. But once she figured out that I wasn't trying to control her, that I wasn't trying to control situations, I was actually just trying to build things up, then she had this picture of, damn, like that totally went over my head, but I see
people can coerce you into being defensive, and so you automatically. There's even things I haven't told. Like, I didn't tell my ex this or this about our kids, like, because I thought you blamed. He like, girl, that child is crazy. Like, why would I think that was you? Like, one, I know who I am. Why would you? I was like, well, I thought that was going to be a reflection of me, so I didn't want to tell you till, yeah. And he's just like, you're good. Like,
right.
Like that kid's crazy. I'm always saying like, oh. Cool. I'm like, I thought you was gonna be mad at me. Okay, cool.
So I have a question, because I told you I was just gonna ask a lot of questions, so I can get some guidance on how to effectively co-parent, and so can our viewers. So you mentioned control. How important do you guys feel it is, and just kind of explain where you had to realize, you know what, I don't have to always control the situation, or when did your children's mother have that epiphany? Because I think that is a major part of the contention in co-parenting relationships, is that it's typically part decision making is involved and things of that sort. So how did you overcome whatever it was between you guys, and how did you realize, okay, some of this is not necessary between us?
So for me, it was, I can honestly say it was just growing pains, because at one point in time you're both strong-willed, and you have these concepts that you think should go into a relationship. You think this should be instilled in your kids, and it's like, one thing you have to do is you have to step back and understand that you're learning this at the same time.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you want to take your parents' guidance, but that's not always the best guidance. Me, I grew up in a 2-parent home. She grew up in a 2-parent home. The difference is, I call her a oops baby. She's like 19 years younger than her siblings. So, it was like, you weren't necessarily brought up in a household just with your parents. You were afforded a lot of spoiled time.
Yeah,
because you had sisters.
And then she has her siblings being her parents.
You got your sisters sitting up there taking care of you too. So when your parents couldn't, they could. Compared to my environment, where my parents couldn't, goddamn it, that was it. So that, and we were equally yoked in understanding that after our divorce, because when we were married, it was just wah. But after the fact, I was like, look, at the end of the day, we have 2 kids to raise, and we need to make sure that for their benefit, that they live a healthy life. I'm not telling you that you need to move out of this type of environment and go stay in the projects. Like I live like shit first before I let my kids live like shit. I want to see them do better. My parents afforded me opportunities to be better than what they were. I want my kids to have that same opportunity.
And I appreciate that sentiment, because oftentimes too, when you hear these kind of conversations, sometimes like, the kids don't need that, or they don't need this. How dare you? How dare you bring somebody into this earth and want to give them the bare minimum?
And say they can take that money,
but
you don't even know how much it's taking.
Like, when I hear that, like, I'm just so just like, what the fuck is, like, how could you even say that? Why would you? No, like, that's terrible. Like, I feel like, to me personally, like, my child should be afforded every opportunity I could possibly provide. Anything that I can do, anything that we can do, we're going to do, because we want them to have a better life than what we had. Like, period. Like, I would never deny them. And if I have to work harder, if he has to work, like, that's what we're going to do. That really just baffles me. But that's why I'm like, to see people, because it's like, I feel like some people are too selfish to have kids. That's what or going back to, it's not about the kids. And I'll say, for me, when it really became about the kids, that's when everything was cool. Yeah. Once you put your feelings aside, because y'all was married and all that other stuff, that's when everything is like, it's smooth. Even to the point where my ex, he was like engaged to somebody else.
his fiance at the time, she's living in Chicago. My daughters went to go visit Chicago. I know that they have a good one. I know he's not going to have my kids around anyone that doesn't care about them. So that's a flat out. But even my friends, like, you made an arrangement for them to be able to see his girlfriend. That's who he's with. Like, yeah, why not? And everybody thought that was him. You set it up. Why not? Like, I know she's good to my kids. I just want my kids to be loved. I want them to have the best life, and the more love, the better. I'm not trying to take anything from them. And going back to, I'm not trying to control anything. This is really just about the kids.
I think people function off of drama a lot too.
Because people don't know how to operate out of dysfunction.
Right.
It is a dual responsibility. I think that women more often end up with all those feelings or emotions about, like, I don't want my kids around other, you know what I'm saying?
Guys have that same thought process as well.
What I'm saying is, I
especially
think that
when it's a boy.
because I think that women get more emotional.
Yeah, because it's like, you're like, someone can take my place. No one can take my place. And be honest with you, like,
and it won't even
you
won't even be take your place with a man. It'll be
with your child.
Take your place with the child.
Your child. But like, but it's like, at the end of the day, my kid has like someone that loves him and pours into him just as much as their mom. Like she should have that. Like, imagine you were like, you step into a situation. Even I am a child I lived with my stepmom and my father. So why would I just even know, like, I need to feel included. So my children need to feel included. They need to feel like whoever they're with, like, they love them too. They value them too. So I've never had an issue. Never.
And then another thing that I've seen women do is, because we had the child, we get more possessive.
And that's a control thing I think I mentioned.
It's control.
So wait.
And it's not even about the kid. It's about you.
Right.
And you want to use that as a tool to make the man do what you want
to do.
Exactly.
Right.
So I have a question, because both of you guys mentioned being divorced. Do you feel that co-parenting is easier for divorced parties than it is for parties that maybe were dating and in a relationship and broke up when a child was young, or even at any point in the child's life? Because, I mean, based on what I'm hearing, I kind of think that it is actually a little bit easier, because you've already kind of dissolved the relationship, so to speak. And it seems like maybe that's a little bit easier to handle in co-parenting, because you've dissolved the relationship, and then now it's like, now you're making the efficient decision to co-parent rather than trying to still deal with the emotions of he left me, she left me, or I don't want you to be with anyone.
Too. Like, someone changes, you grow apart. Like my ex-husband did have an affair. I may not talk about it, but he did. But that's also like we went different directions. Like, life changed. Our relationship towards each other changed. We got distant. To me personally, I think that one benefit is that I think you marry your friend, right? Mm-hmm. So once I take that romantic part out of it, I get back to my friend. I respect my friend. I value my friend. I value his work ethic. There was a reason he was my friend before we even got to the marriage and I do and kids. That was my friend. So it's easy to go back there.
Right.
Because that was my friend. But sometimes, too, people are jumping into things they haven't even established, like a true friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was about to say. It all depends on the situation, how you actually entered it. Because it's a lot of relationships that you will see, they broken from the fucking start. You're in it for the wrong reasons. It's like, oh, I'm in love with what? And the next thing you know, we got kids.
Wow.
And then the next thing you know, you trying to figure out, well, why won't he do this, or why won't she?
Get to the act right. Right. See, this person that came in wrong, but
right.
Like, why
it was wrong from the start. It's like, come on,
like, so yeah, that's because really, in theory, that's not how shit's supposed to be. Like you like, someone doesn't value you have to force them to see your worth, or you spend time chasing them to get them to act right. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have some resentment for that shit too. Right. Like, you might get them to act right and realize they 100% is nothing. Right. Like, you're like, this is it? So, you mean I jumped through all these hoops for this person I did not know, and now I'm here, like, I don't even want you. Like, after I've discovered what it looked like, because going back to, people are just so quick to jump in there. Even too, I do feel like as women, oftentimes we are shamed into, we're shamed about marriage. We're shamed about being single. Then when you hit after 30, then you're shamed if you don't have kids. So it's like we're so conditioned to just make it work and get into that relationship. Right. Like, make it happen. Like, we're on this timeline that I feel like sometimes it leaves us at a disadvantage, and we do things. We manipulate situations. We'll even convince ourselves that someone is worthy and they're not, well, because they look good on paper.
Absolutely, man.
And then you be ready to sign them papers.
I have a question. how far should you basically bend to meet the other parents for the sake of the children? Because I know a lot of people don't want to, because sometimes you're going to take a little shit off of somebody because, you know what I'm saying, I'm trying to make this work so that the kids will be okay. So maybe you take some of the anger from them. Maybe they talk to you a little, crazy, but you don't stop trying to pursue the relationship with the child or keep the relationship cordial between the mom and the dad. How far is too far? What is it that you should take, or what is it that you should not take?
If it's volatile, you can't have a co-parent relationship. You can't have a co-parent relationship. Someone's disrespectful, even because sometimes one person's there while the other person's not. There's no way in hell that you can sit there and just cuss them, even if you feel like they deserve it. You cannot talk to somebody any kind of damn way and think that you're gonna have a good co-parenting relationship. And I say there's times me and my ex, I'll kind of flare, but even too, he's known me so long. It's okay, Marie, calm down. He's the voice. My ex is a very laid back, cool person, so I'm probably the one. So too, if he go off, something pushed him. That's not his personality. So, but even too, it's okay, Marie, calm down. So what is it that you're really upset about? So let's get to that part, because you seem cool. It was amicable a minute ago. What is it? And it's like, well, and then sometimes it might not have shit to do with him. It could be because stuff wasn't going well, and then it was my bad day, and da 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 da. It's just like, and then you just said something fly to me, and I really didn't appreciate because I'm sensitive. But going back to, I feel like you understand. So then that person, so that wasn't his opportunity, because he could easily snap back. But his maturity was like, you know what? Something else is going on. Blah, blah, blah. Well, let's talk about it. You were cool earlier. I'm going to take it. Now, when you still trying to go back and forth and get the other person, because I'm going to cuss you up, there's nothing there.
So the key word is maturity, and somebody has to be mature in that situation.
Has to be a bigger person.
And, I mean, sometimes you have to realize, well, is this, to me, in my opinion, if you have a co-parent that is typically not going to say anything to you, and you realize the only time that they really say something, it has something to do with the child, then maturity allows you to, like Marie said, step back and say, hey, okay, what's going on? Or, you know what, I do need to step up. But if you always in your ego and your feelings and you want to be respected, but you're not doing things to be respected, to me, that's problematic as well. Because you don't deserve respect. I'm going to just be honest. In my opinion, if you're not being a parent to your child, someone is having to literally ask you for help all the time, explaining to you, and 9 times out of 10, it is it's like pulling teeth, and they're trying, and then when they finally like, look, you know what, I was nice, and I put it to you in a respectful way, and guess what, I got your kid over here who's sad and upset because you're not doing. Then you know what, when I did communicate with you in anger, it still has something to do with the kid. I think I don't think that it's the responsibility of the parent who's coming across upset that has to continue to bite their tongue. I think it's the parent who's not doing their part who has to say, you know what, that is frustrating. And I need to step in and I need to help this situation, because number one, you should love your child enough to not want to create a situation that is stressful for the person who is 99% of the time taking care of your child.
And I think that's why gratitude also goes a long way. I want to say it was one day, I feel like sometimes don't think that my ex-husband, he's been able to travel the world. He's been in every country that possibly is, and I actually was in the reserves when I got pregnant with my daughter. So it's definitely low-key, there has been some resentment over the years, like, you out living your best life, and I'm so raising kids. But it was like one time, I want to say maybe like a year or two ago, I got something. He was like, well, no, you're the one that's with him 24/7. I can't speak on that. Like, you handle it. Like, yes, I'm here and I'm present when I'm here, but you're the person. And really just hearing that alone kind of like some of my little whatever resentment kind of melted. Like, but you see what I do. You recognize that, like, I'm the one, I'm making these sacrifices. And yes, I get you're sacrificing too, because you probably would love to be with your family, but this is what you committed to, etc. But going back to that, gratitude goes a long way. I do agree with what you're saying as far as the other person even taking some accountability. I can actually see why you're frustrated. My only thought process on that side is I can only control me.
Exactly.
I can't control them. So at the end of the day, I have to kind of accept, this is who you are. So if you do something outside of the ordinary, extra special, great. But you're not going to get that energy from me. I'm not going to keep allowing you to take me there.
Right.
I like to hear from the male perspective because my husband, he had a kid when he was in high school, and he's 17 years old now, and him and the mom are not, of course, they're not together because we've been married, but it's a very strained relationship, and from the male perspective, since I've been on the side of being a wife of a man who has a child by another woman, it's very difficult. I know that because we were having those conversations before we started about you should request child custody and you should do all these. It's very difficult for the men in the court system.
It's not afforded to us.
For instance, my husband had an allotment coming from his military pay to go directly to her, even though it wasn't set up through the child support, the court division or whatever. But when she went to court, she failed to mention that she had been receiving that money. Instead, she just said that she had not received any money at all. She did not. When he would come, he was in the military, so he was deployed all the time. When he would come to town, she would make sure he was not available so that she could see him. He's been living here now. He still pays regular child support. She doesn't keep up with the court order of having to do the visitation, and it's a lot of work. He's went down to the library downtown to try to figure out how to file the paperwork and do everything himself, because when I referred him to a lawyer, the lawyer took his money and then didn't tell him when his court date was. I'm saying it's a very difficult situation, and he's taken the back seat before, had to deal with her talking to him real disrespectful and ugly, and trying to work through that so that they can continue to have a relationship. But once your child is living with the mother or the other parent, and you know how mother and child's relationship is, it's unbreakable. A child is going to look out for his mother and going to want to see their mother happy before they'll want to see.
That's a boy, though, right?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say boy, because
it's depending on what's fed to their child.
I'm saying in the instance he wasn't able to be there all the time because he was deployed and he went to Afghanistan. So he's been living with his mother all
But was
the
the child fed negative things about his dad? Because it definitely depends on that. Because like I shared with you, my kids still want that relationship.
She sounds toxic, and I'll say this. But I want to say this, like, even no matter what me and my ex-husband was going through, like, my daughters, I remember one time, like, I was, like, visibly hurt. My daughter, like, Daddy made, like, we're young. She's like, Daddy made you cry? I'm like, oh. She's like, he ain't do nothing to me. And it went on about her business. Like, we're going back to
But you all were married, and they developed a relationship in the same home together.
Actually, no. So me and my ex-husband actually separated when my daughter was 2 weeks old. We had stopped living together. Plus, he's on deployment so much, so we had stopped living together. So no, they actually didn't experience. They don't know what that's like. But the girl, my daughter, the way they said it, they like, look, am I good? As long as I'm straight, I don't care what y'all like. That's y'all business. Right. But what I will say is, honestly, it's a problem with her. Like, that doesn't sound like, so you can't successfully co-parent with somebody that's vindictive, manipulative, things like that. Like, because even too, one, she's doing her son a disservice. Huge disservice. Like, to even feed him something that would even innate that maybe his father didn't want to see him or anything, that is so damaging to a child. Right. Like you are hurting nobody but your child. But it sounds like to me, even for her not to mention, like, my money that I get from my ex-husband, that's through an allotment. It's not through the court. But going back to, I also understand if I were to ever go to court, that could put him in just because of how we've had it set up. That would actually hurt him.
It would.
And going back to,
because they don't count it.
Yeah, so I would
They call it again.
Oh wow. Yeah, so I would never do that. You know what I mean? But going back to, it's all about the psychology or I can't even use the word. It's that particular individuals, how they think, how they analyze, how they move, and she just sounds kind of like.
How much ass do you kiss?
But there's nothing. It sounds like you're not gonna win. But go ahead.
So this is the question I asked Joffrey off air, and I think it correlates to your question, Kamiko. At what point in those type of situations where there's a toxic situation and the mother is creating toxic, toxic. I got big lips, so some of those words don't work for me.
And I'm like psycho.
At any rate, moving right along. So in those situations, because I've heard, fathers say, you know what, I'm going to stop pursuing, and I just stopped because it was so difficult. So in your opinion, can you share with us, do you feel that there is ever a point that a father should get to that point where he says, you know what, I'm going to back off. I've lost a lot of money. It's putting a strain on my household with my other family or whatever. When is that right for a dad? Because to
So-
say I should back off.
Again, this goes back to a maturity level, and unfortunately, in that situation that you're talking about, it seems like she'll never mature, simply because when they had that child, neither one of them really wanted a child, but he took responsibility and ownership, which I applaud him for. But she's gonna hold resentment for the rest of her life. Like, I need to make him struggle. This, blah blah blah. Certain
She
people
wants
just.
to hurt.
It's certain people that you will never in life be able to deal with,
She's been successful.
and you just have to understand that. It's like you get to that point where you just see, like, all I can be is a paycheck, and when you give me the opportunity, I'll be there. But I'm not gonna fight that battle.
And
It's,
then how
and
old
it's
is
and
he?
it's unfortunate.
17.
So doesn't he have a cell phone out too?
But see, that's what I'm saying. It's
Well,
like,
that's what-
unfortunately
So
for him,
even with so even with cell phones or
she monitors
addresses
that. She ain't
and
gonna
all
let him
that type
call.
of stuff, she's in control.
I was so annoyed when I asked someone at 7, my daughter got a cell phone. Y'all ain't gonna be sitting on my phone.
She's even responded to messages that he's sent her.
So
Or he's had to say, well, I have to go. I have to get off the phone. I have to. Or she has just not even disclosed where they live at,
Mm-hmm.
or where.
Well, hold on, it comes up to court. That is
Court.
That's
possible.
what I'm saying. That's
Court.
what I'm saying. You have to get
You
a
have
lawyer.
right.
No, you
And then
don't.
once you get and if you don't
What
get
you
a
have
lawyer,
to
you have
do-
to go to the law
You have to
library.
you
And
have
he
to
did-
file. You have to call the police when you go to the address that's designated to you.
He's did that. He's wrote down records of when she didn't show up for visitation.
The
He
system
went
is
to the law
still
library.
made
When he
for
went to the
a
law, when he
woman to
showed
have
up for
a
court,
child.
You need to get one of
Well,
those
I'll talk about that
women
off
hate
air.
lawyers. Like they do exist, the ones like
I got
they
mine.
trying to protect the men. You got to get one of those ones. But I do have a friend. I'll reach out that she kind of went through some custody stuff here and in between. I'll see what she was doing because she would go back. He would take her to court all the time for everything.
it breaks my heart because he gets to the point where he's like, I just don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'll just wait till he graduates and goes to high school. He sends a
Goes to
message,
college.
goes up there, on his birthdays and stuff, writes some letters, anything that he.
To the school?
Anything he can.
Does he go to the school and
He
have
goes to
chat?
the school and his name wasn't even on
But
it. He
as
had to
long
bring
as he
all his
takes that court
records.
order,
He had to
they
take
can't
his-
deny him
Yeah,
to
so
come
he-
and see his kid at
He
school.
does that.
But
But
look
it's
at what
so-
you have
it's
to
so-
go
it's
through to
so-
But
do
imagine
that.
what you're
So that's
That's-
my
But
question.
imagine
When,
what's
if
the
you're going
psyche
through
of the
that, when
child
do you
and what
say
you're
no?
telling your child and like even
So at that point,
how
I'd just
he
say
feels,
18.
like,
And then that child
that's
has
just
that
sad. It's
mindset
sad for the
built, and
child
he
for
might
the
not
most
want
part.
that
Like I feel
relationship.
bad
But
for your husband because he's
that's
trying,
a
but then it's
battle
like
that
you
I'm
doing
gonna have
that
to have with you
that
as an
boy
adult.
a disservice.
You know, you see it in movies all the time. It's like, but sometimes as a man, you just, if she's gonna label you the deadbeat and make you look like the deadbeat, sometimes you are in that battle and that's it. So you just, it's a waiting game. And unfortunately, at 18, that's a conversation I have to have with you. I'm gonna say man to man, but I know I got to get through a lot of distrust and hurt at that point. But that's just the point we're at. I'm still not gonna tell you the type of female your mother is,
Exactly.
because that's already
You'll figure
damaged.
that on your own.
Yeah,
anyway,
you'll figure that out
probably
later in
will.
life. What I will tell you
When you
is I don't
first
want to
know.
see you with a woman like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but for us, we need to take this time to try to figure out what truly happened over the past 18 years that I missed, or whatever that time
you said
frame
this
is.
stuff.
So what's important is establishing that relationship outside of
You
what
will
was
have
done
to
to
do
damage
it.
the relationship. You know, I've always often heard that it's the good moms get the horrible dads and the good dads get the horrible moms, and that's so unfortunate to hear. And then, excuse my typo on our poll that I created yesterday at 1:14. I don't know what was. Our current climate. And let me read a comment. Oh, Eros, I hope I said that right. Aerosmith.
What up,
He
fam?
said, truth. Facts cause one of the parents may use the child as a pawn to disrupt the relationship with the other parent. When that occurs, one must seek counsel and use your right so you can become co-parents. With prayer and time, hopefully the parent who was being hard will come around later in life. But I can say firsthand that wasn't easy, but now our child is older and the co-parenting is a lot better. Then Bueller's, she's a top fan, by the way. You know, if you watch the show, comment on our Facebook page consistently, you too can be a top fan. And one day, I don't know which day, we will have a gift for one of our top fans. We'll enter you guys in a top fan drawing. So you may want to try to attempt to be one. Just throwing that out there. Oops. So she says, nah, it's, wait a minute. She says, nah, it's meant for the deadbeats that don't want to take care of their kids. Both parents are willing to be sensible, and then no courts are needed. And I agree. If parents are willing to be sensible, and it does take a lot of, you know, checking your own ego. And I'm saying this from my own experience. It does take a lot of checking your own ego. And even if you feel like, look, I'm advocating for my kid, and I go hard for my kid, you kind of, as a parent, even though you're experiencing, you know, especially, and I'm going to speak to the women, if you are a custodial parent and you're seeing the hurt and the disappointment or whatever comes with that, you also have to kind of step back and just simply ask the kid, hey, you okay with this? Dude said he coming on Saturday even though he was supposed to come on Friday. Or dude said he just going to keep you for 2 hours. You cool? Is that cool with you? And even if it, I mean,
sound like your daddy finna be here. Remember one time my daughter,
right? Even if it
visiting on the flip, I wanted to do this assembly. Well, your dad here. You going to you see your dad.
Right. And even if it is disruptive to your current schedule, you have to think about, is it disruptive to the child's emotional and mental well-being? Do you want to have your kid having to go to counseling because of the hurt that they've experienced? Because maybe 2 hours on a Saturday was enough for them. And even though as a mom it wasn't enough for you and it inconvenienced you, think about how you're going to feel inconvenienced when you're having to take your kid to counseling, or you're having to, you know, answer these hard questions to your kids. So I think personally it does come with a lot of, you know what, let me check my feelings, let me check my ego, let me check how I feel about the situation. The mom may very well be trifling and may very well be vindictive and manipulative, and the dad may very well be trifling and inconsistent. However, I think we have to take a look at, how does the kid feel about it? And when we stop and think about that, then we can kind of get out of our own way. Taylor Dean, and I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge you because you commented so many times, and I'm going to let our viewers know, because I'm Arlesia. Lisa, you know, y'all know me and I keep it 100 and real. I can't do it. Kamiko said not to do it. I already put it in the comments. However, he wants to be acknowledged. And since Kamiko told me not to say what I was about to say because she knows me, I am going to at least acknowledge your continuous comments on our platform that you have joined into. He wants to know, what do women pay with no job and on government assistance? Taylor, I can't answer that because I'm not about that life, so I don't know what they pay. If that's the kind of baby mother that you have, you would have to actually ask that question to her. He says that he does have children, because I asked that question to kind of get an idea of why he gave his feedback. And he said yes, and, you know, similar to his interaction with us the other day on our comment feed. He says, stop having kids just because you want to be a mom. Create families first, not just a baby. I mean, are you married to the mother of your children? Did you create a family, Taylor? Because you're making these suggestions.
Little
that
sound bites, and it's like, if you're even following,
okay,
they're not in context with what we're
right.
discussing.
It's definitely not in context with what we're discussing.
If we had some
but
read up here, it's like, yeah, and I'm on my sixth kid, and you know, that would be fine.
He's just commenting, and he says that he's on top of it. And I just wanted to read his comments because I didn't want him to feel like I was ignoring his comments, although I was. But I didn't want him to feel like that because I want to include everybody, all of our comments, and I was ignoring him because I was, and if y'all redirect yourself to our post over this past weekend, you'll see why. I was. I know Kamiko told me not to say anything, but when you call our podcast muddy and amateur, and then you come to tune into it, and then come to have yourself viewed and your thoughts and opinions, I do have to address it. We're a growing podcast, I'll say that. We're learning by experience, and I think that the viewers that watch us appreciate the topics, the content, and everything that we share. And so I won't allow somebody to degrade that, and that's just simply what it is. But I will say that on a professional basis. I know I ventured off, but I had to address the person that wanted to be acknowledged.
Because even too, we were kind of on a positive, so we were actually
right.
Positive,
yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're encouraging positive co-parenting.
We're not here to talk about deadbeats.
Exactly,
and kids to have that wasn't our content.
Exactly. So moving right along, thank you. Thank you for your comments and your thoughts and opinions. You said the man knows. Look at him. He knows that I keep it real, and he's like, dang, she did definitely keep it real. He's not actually agreeing with you because he actually has set the standard of a good co-parenting relationship with his children's mother. And if you had tuned in at the beginning, that's something that he shared, is that he had purchased her a purse, and he said at one point that relationship wasn't always great, but they figured that thing out. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have him here, is to share that, hey, we understand that co-parenting isn't always the most positive situation, but it takes a level of maturity once you get to that. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about women who choose to live off of government assistance, because that's something that myself and Marie and use men for a paycheck, that's something that we can't speak to. And because we're not a smutty podcast, we're not even trying to invite those kind of guests on. We're trying to invite guests on that encourage our viewers who are mainly African American,
promoting positive
to promote positive Black families, even if you're not in a relationship with that person anymore. We want to promote saying, hey, guys, come together for the sake of this child. And even if I don't have the best co-parenting situation, that's something that I still promote. And the reason why I wanted to hear what Marie and Joffrey had to say is because they could teach me something. So, I can work on getting to that place, and also our viewers can. Moving right along. Thank you guys for your positive comments and statements. So, Joffrey, we're going to kind of redirect back before we wrap up with co-parenting, because I want to, even though we had to address that situation that needed a lot of attention, we still want to hear what you have to say about co-parenting. So you kind of gave us a lot of advice. So with co-parenting, I have a question. As a man, and you have a son and you have a daughter, if your children's mother decides, hey, you know what, I met somebody and he's handsome, and if it's me, I'm saying he bought me some pizza. He don't have a problem with and snow cones. He don't mind going to South Dallas to get them snow cones. So with that in mind, if she has someone, what makes you feel like, hey, you know what, I'm okay with this man stepping in, especially with your children living in Alabama? How do you say, you know what, let me take a step back and allow this man, especially if he's living with your kid's mom or he's married her, and when do you say, you know what, I'm comfortable with allowing this man to be the man of his home, and I'm not inserting the fact that I'm these children's father, and I'm not having. Do you have a suggestion for men on that?
So honestly, it's a hard pill to swallow, because as a man, I will always be the father to my kids.
Right.
But I have to respect whatever my ex decides to do with her life. It's no longer us. It's her, but it's also for the well-being of our kids. So, we had this discussion a long time ago about if we ever met anybody and it went down the road of getting serious, that she would meet her or I would meet him, just so we can have an understanding of what expectations are.
Is that before they meet the kids?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because in my situation, it's based on distance. So I can't readily be available to jump to Alabama and be like, let me meet this.
Y'all can FaceTime.
Yeah, whatever.
Skype.
FaceTime and Skype is, the devil. I can pay the facade for that. But, we always had that understanding that we would meet that person. And right now, till this day, my kids only know of one other female outside of my ex-wife.
Wow.
And that was an ex-girlfriend that I met when I first moved to Dallas. And even with my kids visiting now, she's still the only person that I let see my kids. Because I don't feel like my kids need to know if I'm dating
but y'all
this person
aren't still together anymore?
No.
But she still has a relationship with them? That's
because
cool.
we were together for like 5-6 years.
So she cares, like she wants to know what the updates
are.
They remember her, she remembers them.
Right. So it's like, she was there when they were relatively young. So growing up, that's what they know. So I'm not trying to shake that balance. It's like, man, you don't need to know all your dad's business. So, we leave it right there. But that's growing up knowing maturity and responsibility, because as a man, you shouldn't really want your kids to meet all random women.
Or men.
And vice versa, random men.
He has two.
He
has an 18-year-old.
19 and 15.
19 and 15. Sorry.
So my daughter's in college in Maine. Hi, Simone. And my son is about to be a sophomore in high school in Alabama. So
with that distance, how does that is that difficult?
A lot of gas. That's what.
As Joshua said, you can co-parent from anywhere.
You can co-parent from anywhere. It's like, I'll never be an advocate to tell somebody you need to stay in a relationship for the kids. Right. That's bullshit. That's stupid.
And it sets a bad example.
It's like, why would you put your happiness in jeopardy just to try to appease somebody else that's here to tear you down?
And it hurts the kids.
You're also forced them to think that's acceptable.
Right.
As well.
And it's
no one has to do that.
It's like your kids see that. Your kids see that struggle. They see that volatility in that relationship. So it's like, man, the hell what you think. Me and my parents had a real live conversation, because my parents are old school. They're like, you need to stay in a relationship for the kids. I was like, I can be a parent from anywhere.
Right.
And even like my thought process on that, because even me and my ex-husband, at one time we kind of was like, well, unless we decided to get married or anything. I mean, we were separated for a while, and our agreement was unless we got serious, one of us would get married or something like that, we would just keep things the way it were. And it was kind of like, I felt like I come to the conclusion as adults, as parents, as their role models to some degree, like it's our responsibility to also show them what healthy love looks like. It's also our responsibility to show them, hey, things can fall apart, you can pick up the pieces and keep it going. Like, you show them resilience. We don't have to sit here and fake it or being happy, because even too, it starts to come out, and kids know they're not stupid.
Yeah, Stanley just said that kids know when you're
not happy. They definitely pick up on that. So it's almost like your responsibility to say, sometimes you got to move on. Sometimes you got to pick up what you got and keep it moving, and show them how to have a healthy relationship, how to healthy co-parent, how to have so let's say you do find your next wife or whomever, show them what love looks like. Right. Instead of giving us this false example or this we have to sacrifice it all just so you can have this illusion.
Right. Mess around, run off to college, and come back home, and mom stay across town and dad stay downtown.
Yeah, because that's exactly what happened.
Too. It's kind of like, well, I mean, I was wondering when.
Right.
Man, so yeah.
All right, so time has been far spent, and because we spent a lot of time on our What Now topics, I wanted to make sure our co-parenting topic did get the attention and detail that it needed. And Joffrey, we so greatly appreciate you speaking from the men's perspective. So before we close, exactly. Before we close, Joffrey, let people know how they can reach you, how they can see your show, The Gentleman's Lounge, because some of our male viewers definitely want to know more about The Gentleman's Lounge.
Hey, so you guys just join in on Facebook. We're at dfwiradio.com. You can listen in on the .com side or catch us in The Gentleman's Lounge. We do require approval for membership so we can keep
The ladies now?
No,
Just
not
tell it
the
like
ladies,
it is.
but just that drama.
The
So,
drama out.
you
Okay.
know, we try to keep it 100, but it's an
We
open
might
forum.
have to start doing that ourselves.
So look us up. You can hit me up. You know, Joffrey Holloway on Facebook. Look me up. Hit up the Gentleman's Lounge. You'll be intrigued by what we talk about. It's every Wednesday night from 8 to 9. So log in.
And then, guys, before we wrap up, we want to remind you that this Friday, what is it, Friday, Saturday, and also Sunday, Kamiko? Trap Murder Mystery will be going down. So, guys, Eventbrite is where you can purchase your tickets. Harriet Hunt Speed, who has been a guest on the show in our first season, and she is one of our homegirls, and we love her entrepreneurial spirit. She will be putting on Trap Murder Mystery. You'll see a lot of familiar faces in the Dallas scene, and we definitely want to give them our love and support as we encourage our entrepreneurs in the Metroplex to do their thing, and especially African Americans doing positive things. So, Trap Murder Mystery on Friday. We will be in the building, 30-something podcast. Come out and see us. We will be happy to. Yeah, like Miko said, we'll be happy to chat with you. Yeah, JoJo, come through on Friday, Trap Murder Mystery. And then also, I gotta mention one of my favorite childhood movies, which was my little brother's favorite movie, Lion King, is coming out this weekend. Y'all, let's go watch that movie, buy it out, because it has a predominantly African-American cast in the live-action film, I was about to say Little Mermaid, but Lion King. And then I know I had some bad reviews on my timeline for I Got the Hookup 2. They was like, they messed up. I Got the Hookup 1. But you have to remember, you cannot mess up an original because the original is still available. So since Master P and his fine son Romeo finance that young man is he looks nice, and I'm single, so I can say that. And until somebody snatches me up with a nice piece of engagement ring and a box of pizza, I will keep my eyes open to attractive men that are 5'2", and I did say men's 5'10" and taller. Because y'all know I like short people. Okay, so let me hurry up and wrap up, because I'm looking at Marie like, this fool. Look, more people are tuned in. More people are tuned in now that I'm saying all of this.
So this is what they.
Because they like my foolishness.
That's what they think we talk about.
Okay, they like my foolishness. But at any rate, y'all, go see I Got the Hookup 2, just so that we can give an African-American finance-backed movie our dollars, because he hired a lot of African-American people for this movie. And even if it doesn't have the substance and everything that you loved about the first movie, let's just support our black brother, because we'll go see some other movies that aren't what that is just because it came out for the weekend. So go support Master P, because, like I said, he employs so many African-American people. Now, tune in next week where we, I believe we will be, what are we talking about next week?
I don't even know. Y'all just follow our page.
July 23rd. We don't have it. Give us our suggestions. Yes, give us some suggestions on what y'all would like for us to talk about next week. Oh, next week will be Battle of the Sexes. We're probably gonna have some special male guests in the building that think they know a lot of things but don't know nothing. Yeah, we might have our favorite guest. We're gonna throw it out there, JoJo, who's tuned in with us. Romeo is not 17. He is at least 30, JoJo. Chill out. I don't like him young.
He's still too young.
I don't like him young. He's at least 30. Is that too young for me?
Yes.
He is not 30.
He not?
Me and Romeo the same age.
20. Oh, okay.
Oh, hell
Oh, no, because he's 10 years older than my
Okay,
oldest child.
like,
Never mind.
We call
She
the
Kelly.
police. We call the police.
No, I'm not going to be she Kelly. No, don't associate me with that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for staying tuned in with us for this long. Also, we're going to go to karaoke at Heroes. I'm not singing. Kamiko might be singing. So if y'all want to join us there tonight, we'd love to join in with y'all. I know it's a work night, but you know, turn down for what? I'm gonna take my Golden Girl niece to Heroes Lounge for karaoke. JoJo, come out, okay? I'm not a cougar, Pamela, man. Mind your business. All right, guys.
Have to talk about this off here.
Bye, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in to 30-something podcast. Thank you, Joffrey.
Birthday, Ray Ray.
Yes, Ray Ray. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. Y'all just stop. Like, y'all just. Okay, photo.